Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us again this morning on Morning Update. This program is live on TVXYZ on Facebook, as well as Wizard TV on Facebook. You can also subscribe to Wizard TV on YouTube and join this conversation. It's a breakfast show. We want to make it very interactive, and so your voice will be heard. Send us your text messages as we begin our conversation on some of the exciting issues as well as topics that are of concern to you and I. I am Eric Ahianyo.
And I am Nana Abena. So once again, good morning. And as Eric has rightly stated, this is the morning update on TVXYZ. Now, today we will take some newspaper headlines just as we did yesterday. And subsequently, we will have newspaper review, which will be done or chaired by Eric. And then later on, Wisdom will come into the studio with detailed stories of some of these headlines that we will be discussing.
Yesterday, there was an interesting conversation in Parliament. Members of the House actually debated the upsurge of coronavirus. And there was an interesting proposal by a former Minister of Health. He's currently the Minister Designate for Environment, and he's an experienced gynecologist, so he understands children because he brings them out from the womb. But what is exciting, perhaps provocative, others may say it is an area to explore, was when he suggested to Parliament that, in his opinion, government should introduce schools under trees. He says that if children learn in an open space, the possibility of contracting or spreading COVID will be minimized. But some say we've gone past studying under trees. It's an interesting issue. Today, Nana Abena will be engaging an educationist, Peter Patti, to hear his opinion on this proposal and whether it is feasible.
Yes, so later on after that as well, we will leave you with some tidbits on COVID. But today is also another sad day for us, as another police officer has, also committed suicide. This is the second one.
The second in 3 days.
Exactly. So yes, we need to find out or figure out what is happening, and to be sure that these are actually suicides and not murders. I mean, we can think of both sides.
If you look at the pictures that have been circulating on social media, you see this young police officer lying in the washroom with his gun by his side.
It's really sad.
And the conversation, according to the news items that I have monitored on different portals, suggests that he was sick and he was granted sick leave.
Yes,
he resumed work and pleaded for more time to take some rest and finish taking his medicine. But the police service refused him that opportunity and rather assigned him to go on guard duties at the residence of one of the Togolese opposition leaders. And then, unfortunately, this thing happened. I can imagine what could have been the reason. But yesterday, we had some guests here. And in the conversation, one of them, who is the Dean of Students at the University of Professional Studies here in Accra, was saying that, look, people have all kinds of frustrations. And sometimes you need to really understand them and condition them to come out of it. Well, we've gone through that. The police administration has issued a statement that the public should be circumspect in commenting on some of these incidents. But the truth is that it has left a blot on the image of the police service. And there's an institution which should rather be helping society, helping psychologists, helping counselors to walk people through some of these challenges. And most especially, they have the right to arrest, just like you and I have the citizens arrest. We have that right to prevent people from committing such crime. The police has, I would say, a bigger authority than us because of where they work. And these are the people actually getting themselves involved in this. I believe that it's a trying time for the police, and the administration should really sit down, engage all the commanders, and walk through the psyche of staff and begin to just talk to them and block all of them, recondition them. They may be going through their own problems, we don't know.
All right, let's appreciate some of our sponsors. Now, we would like to say a very big thank you to X Natural Mineral Water for supporting this program. As they say, behind every successful man is a woman, but behind every successful morning update is X mineral water. Now, let's take a quick commercial break.
We'll be taking a quick commercial break, but I like this way you put it. Behind a successful morning update is X natural mineral water. It will revitalize you. The break starts now. We'll be back.
We are one man short. Should we invite him?
Yes.
It be old cargo.
Can I join you guys? Yeah.
Always drink fresh, natural X mineral water.
Still got it.
Always keep hydrated naturally. That's my secret.
Manufactured with the primary aim of preserving nature's finest minerals necessary for a healthy mind and body. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural. Peace of mind is very essential in your journey to success. For Akwesi Papa, peace of mind means having a proper covering over his family. Literally. For Araba, aka Injection Mama, it's about having the funds to complete her advanced nursing course. And as for Corporal Odami, it's as simple as reporting on time for his shifts. Sometimes all you need is a simple push. At Needs Microfinance, we have tailor-made loan packages for salaried workers under the Controller General's Department. With the low interest rate and quick wahala-free process, you are guaranteed of a timely solution to get back that peace of mind, literally in 30 minutes. Needs Microfinance. Growing with you.
Welcome back. This is the morning update here on TVXYZ. It's also available on Wizard TV on Facebook. I've told you you can subscribe to YouTube and follow us on Wizard TV. I am Erica Hianyo. I'm here with Abena Sewa, who is my co-host. We are about to share with you what is trending across the country by way of sharing with you the headline stories in the newspapers. I want to start with the Daily Dispatch newspaper. The front page has a story on what happened in court yesterday. This is headlined, Videotapes of Mahama and Asiedu Nketia claiming NDC won 2020 played in court. And it comes with a picture of the General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Asiedu Nketia. So you see that on your screen. I'll go through the other headlined stories. And of course, yesterday, if you monitored the conversation after proceedings in court, the NPP lawyers were saying Asiedu Nketia has been exposed because the questions he answered during the cross-examination did not reflect his demeanor when the NDC was claiming that they were in a comfortable lead to win the 2020 elections. But the NDC says that is not what happened, because the tape actually exposed the agenda the NPP lawyers had to discredit the General Secretary of the NDC. And I'm sure in the course of our presentation today, we'll share more on what happened in court. Now, the other stories on the front page of the Daily Guide newspaper, this one says, Ibrahim Mahama, from a school dropout to a top businessman. And then it is not true NPP MPs are not supporting relief for students. Afenyo Makin is arguing here. And then meet the journalist who worked at the castle and armed with a side. He had a sidearm as one of those who were protecting the late former president Jerry John Rawlings. But it's a sad story on the front page of the Daily Dispatch newspaper, and I'm sure you can see the picture right here. And the name of this man who has just passed on is Bafo Bonny. Some call him Babu. He was the founder of Radio Gold. And unfortunately, yesterday, around late afternoon, the news broke about his demise. The last story on the front page of the Daily Dispatch newspaper is actually continuing on the back page, which has something to do with the proceedings in court yesterday. Abena.
Yes, so for Ghanaian Times, on the front page of the Ghanaian Times, now there's been ongoing election petition, where NDC is disputing the declaration by the EC that Nana Akufo-Addo Dankwa indeed got the 50+1% to win the elections. Now also it says here that government has tightened restrictions to curb COVID-19 surge. Now, as at Sunday, when the government addressed the nation, it seemed like we had active cases of about 5,358, of which 416 persons have lost their lives. And so that is something of concern here. Now, also on the front page of the Ghanaian Times, Nana Jumo Bene appointed CEO of UMB. Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations to you.
Yes. Now moving on.
Yeah, go ahead with the new crusading guide.
Yes, so the new crusading guide, if you are like me and was scared or concerned about the vaccines, FDA has approved first herbal medicine. Again, some people are worried about taking herbal medicine.
It's good news. You see, one thing
Yes.
I've always observed is that the whites, through education, have managed to indoctrinate us. And so anything that appears foreign is what we love. We don't try to buy into what we actually produced.
Yeah.
So you hear abrofu mpua, abrofu kube, abrofu mango, abrofu whatever. So many people have been conditioned. Maybe it is through the education the Christians brought, which started from the coastal belt. But we must realize that many of the things we produce ourselves, the potency is great.
It is.
Maybe the whites may package it and make it look attractive. And so along the line, many people think it's appropriate. I would wish that FDA will push the Ghana Health Service and other related agencies to buy into this and start giving these out to patients, so that if the efficacy is that strong, we also go and patent it and sell it to the world.
Sure.
That's the only way we can make money and grow as a country.
Yes, and not always sit back and wait for someone else to save
push them on us.
Yes.
You know, the interesting thing is that yesterday I was monitoring, I think, one of the international media platforms, and I got the impression that EU and other countries want to nationalize the COVID vaccine, and the WHO is complaining about it. So here we are, Ghana, a poor country. Even the money we may be using to import these vaccines, which we expect to be around, to be in the country, I think it's either March or June. Yeah, I think either March or June. I'm not too sure, but I may want to guess. I think what I read or I saw in one of the newspapers was suggesting June. Now, if we even have to go for it, it may get to a point where there'll be high demand for it, and we may not get it as a poor country. And that is that sad issue we have to look at. So there's a good news, and I think we should go for it.
It is. That needs to be encouraged. Also, lawyer Akoto Ampao punches holes in Mahama's petition as Supreme Court reprimands Asiedu Nketia for giving indirect answers. Now, yesterday during the proceedings, Asiedu Nketia was giving indirect answers, and the court reprimanded him with regards to that. Now, the Chronicle, on the front page of the Chronicle, also says that IGP awaits CID reports on death of 2 personnel. So this is the story we were telling you about earlier. Now, apparently the police is investigating the story, and so we will get the reports.
There's an interesting story there. Asiedu Nketia, what is he saying?
He says it's not a palm wine tapper.
No, he says, I am.
Oh, he says, my lord, I'm a palm wine tapper.
Yes.
Oh,
And he's a proud palm wine tapper.
I do like the man, to be honest.
I also like palm wine. Well, this is the morning update. Let me also continue with the Daily Graphic newspaper. Election petition. I never implied Mahama won. Asiedun Ketia here. So Asiedun Ketia is trending. I'm told today Dr. Pesa White will be taking his turn in the witness box and will be cross-examined. We wait to hear what he also has to say. Now, the other story on the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper here says, FDA approves clinical trial for COVID-19 herbal medicine. And that's what we just spoke about, that FDA should push that Ghana Health Service actually takes charge of the distribution and use of these herbal medicines. Now, ban on social gathering affected industry players count cost. All these are on the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Now, the center spread has other stories here. I see the president, Nana Akufo-Addo, exchanging pleasantries and receiving letters from envoys. And the banner headline says, 6 envoys present letters of credence to the president. They are South Korea, Canada, Namibia, China, Austria, and Mexico. And World Leprosy Day commemorated is also in the center spread of the Daily Graphic newspaper. And the last story here says, illegal mining threatens one district, one factory project in Obuasi, and another policeman commits suicide. So these are the stories on the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. I want to start with the Business and Financial Times. I'll keep this on the screen for a little while so that you can quickly glance through some of the headlines, the ones you can catch before I go over to share them with you. Now, the first story that attracts me is the issue about COVID-19 and its impact on the economy. And the headline here says, pandemic's new wave pushes Bank of Ghana to stay policy rate again and identify and support local raw material producers. And then the Africa Trade Agreement is also captured here. Now, AFTA will benefit everyone, not just mega businesses. Kasapreko, managing director, is speaking here. And then small companies should constantly engage relevant authorities. The Business and Financial Times has one other story I want to share with you. And this one says, Engineer Boychedi heads Federation of African Engineering Organization. So these are exciting stories, and I believe that there are many more we have not shared here. You have them. This is an interactive program. All you have to do is to send us your text messages via WhatsApp. The numbers will appear on your screen. That is 0556 999 999 0556 999 999. We promise that when you send your messages, we will share them with you. And I've told you that as we continue our programming, many of you would have the opportunity to also speak to us directly on that brief text message you send to clarify further what you want to also put across. We'll be taking a short break. When we come back, we'll bring you the news.
The average human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance in any physical or mental exercise. We can help you maintain it naturally. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
Welcome to Auto Check Vehicle Diagnostic and Licensing Center.
I hear my car can be checked here without going to so many Accra.
Sure.
Check, auto checks. Check, auto checks. Check.
Emission, check.
Check, auto checks.
Alignment, check.
Auto checks. Check, auto checks.
Brakes, check.
Visit AutoChecks at Koforidua Aquadum Road for the roadworthiness of your vehicle, from saloon cars to heavy-duty industrial vehicles. Madam, your car is now ready for the road.
Thank you so much.
Auto checks.
Auto checks, check.
AutoChecks, your safety, our priority.
Check, auto checks.
Well, so we'll be giving you some updates, Mami, on the news in a bit. But then, this COVID issue is in the public domain. Now, there's a new debate as to whether schools should resume in terms of having schools under trees. I'm sure you've had that conversation.
Yes. I've seen that. We'll actually be talking to an educationist to have an extensive conversation about it. And after the news, we'll give some detailed stories into that as well. We'll hear from the man himself.
But this thing about schools under trees, your personal view, let's assume that you are a parent, or for now you're a guardian.
First of all, I don't think it's healthy, corona aside, because you know how children are. You will see them playing in the sand, and eventually they'll come up with other diseases as well. So, to be honest, I don't think
you know, there's always been the debate that they could say that, oh, give me your nose mask, let me see whether it will fit. Mine is more beautiful than yours. And
yes. But I think the schools have developed a strategy where they let the students all use the same nose mask. So there is no need for another student to say that yours is nicer, so can I try yours? You get it?
COVID is real.
It is.
It's no joke out there.
It is.
But, I mean, I'll be giving you news updates, but what you should be expecting in the news is that the second, witness of the petitioner, President John Mahama, Dr. Michael Pesahwai, to be taking his turn to answer questions in the witness box amidst, public reaction over Seydou Nketiah's cross-examination. Yeah. Both lawyers have been speaking. We'll be sharing details with you. And then you spoke about a story having to do with a police officer committing suicide here in Accra. Yeah. Second, in 3 days, I'll be giving you details about that as well. And then there's new conversation, public debt stock. The Bank of Ghana has finally admitted that Ghana is in debt crisis. We'll be giving you details in a bit. Many thanks for joining us. Now, proceedings in the Supreme Court is getting more interesting as the second witness of the petitioner, Dr. Michael Pesahwai, take his turn to answer questions from the defendant lawyers.
Today, the banter between NDC General Secretary Johnson Seydou Nketiah and lawyer Koto Ampao, lead counsel for Nana Akufo-Addo, revealed what the MPP lawyers describe as victory because it exposed the NDC really have no case. But former Attorney General and Minister of Justice Marietta Bruopon insist it was established clearly that there was vote padding and wrong figures declared by the EC Church and Mensa for the presidential results. Information Minister Designate Kojo Nkrumah addressed the media on behalf of the MPP,
exposing the inconsistencies and sometimes even outright falsehoods that have been put out by the petitioner and the witness who was in the witness box today. So when you juxtapose the earlier claims of we won now to what they are saying in the witness box about they don't know who won, when you juxtapose that to some of the tapes we played about claims of 51% on their side, now to claims that they did not even bring numbers to court, if you juxtapose that between their petition that talks about vote padding of a certain number and now a claim that it's only samples of that number, one of the first things that counsel on our side sought to do today was to expose the inconsistencies and sometimes outright falsehoods that have been peddled by the petitioner and
Mr. Nkrumah insisted that proceedings had exposed the NDC and their failure to tell the court their own collated figures for the presidential elections exposes emptiness of the petition.
You heard the 3 questions that the bench asked. That for all that you have said, when you finished your collation, what were your results? When you finished your collation, what were the results that the petitioner got? When you finished your collation, what were the results that the second respondent got? And it was, I believe it will be very surprising to the millions of NDC supporters across the country who were egged on by the same team that they had numbers to prove they had won. Now here in court, when the bench asked those questions, they say that they did not come to court with any of those numbers. They are not still able to put any numbers before the court, despite all that they had said.
The NDC, however, maintains that lawyer Koto Ampaw's attempt to discredit Johnson Asiedu Nketia failed after tapes he played in the open court did not establish his accusations.
Indeed, everything he said goes to points to the fact that we are entitled to the declarations that we are seeking. But several interesting things stood out today. Let me start with the video. The video that they sought to show to try and dent the credibility of the General Secretary didn't happen as they thought it would. In the end, his credibility rather soared. If you watch the video, and I'm sure you all watched it, it is clear from the video that he never said at any point in time that the petitioner had won the elections. In fact, what he did were projections, and rightly so. He stated that based on the 141 parliamentary seats that we had won, the projection was that we would win the presidential slot as well. Those were projections he made. And so they were unable to show from the video that the general said what it is they were trying to prove. So of course they flopped.
The former Attorney General also said it became evident that there was indeed vote padding and falsification of figures, as the petitioner suggested.
Also important is the issue of padding. They cross-examined the general on the issue of padding, and you can sense from the cross-examination that they admit that there was padding. What they tried to portray was that on a pen drive there was an indication that there was also padding in favor of the NDC. Now, if they admit that there was padding, then obviously we are dealing with a very flawed election. That is the point, and they admit it.
Now, TVXYZ News will be in court this morning to give you update on today's proceeding. Now, would you prefer your ward to learn under trees as a measure to prevent them from contracting the coronavirus pandemic, or would you allow them to follow? Now, parents, of course, are becoming more worried following government decision to keep schools open as the spread of the coronavirus continues. Now, the reason is obvious. Students cannot stay after losing out almost one academic year. Yesterday, Minister Designate for Environment, Dr. Kwekwe Friye, who is also an accomplished gynecologist, stoked controversy suggesting the reintroduction of schools under trees. Dr. Friye, who is also MP for Sehrioso, was speaking in Parliament.
Mr. Speaker, even in Accra, it is very strange that places like Choko, Kolegono, and others, for some strange reason, those people are packed together, and yet there's minimal spread. It is because of the outdoor life. Here, we are saying that we are maintaining social distancing, but we are living in an enclosed capsule. And I'm suggesting that that empirical thought that because we have social distanced ourselves and yet we have encased ourselves in this kind of casing might not exactly be good for us. In this sense, I recommend that we should even, as far as school children are concerned, that concept that we jettisoned, school under trees, we are in the dry season. I'm suggesting that as far as possible, schools should be organized under trees now, because the body of empirical evidence suggests that when you stay in non-enclosed spaces, you don't get infected. That knowledge.
Minister Designate for Environment and MP for Sefrioso, Dr. Koto Efriye. Now, TVXIZ News has been speaking to a cross-section of the public for their reaction. Listen.
It's good though, but the thing is, how many trees do we have, and will it be enough for the kids? And is it everywhere? Is it every school? Is it every school that there is a tree there for the kids? And how many kids can it contain? The tree. I mean, the tree. It's a very big distance. But I think that this thing, the way he talks about the free ventilation too, it's good too. But some more life is better than anything in this world. But it's better for school to be closed for the kids than maybe putting their life in danger.
Basically, what he said could be done, but on the second thought, I have taught before, and then this is what we do. Normally, when we teach for like 20 minutes, we take the rest of, maybe if it is 40 minutes a class, you take the rest of the 20 minutes, take the kids to maybe under the tree or outside, and then have a class. So basically, it's not going to be like the whole hours that you're going to teach under the tree. Let the kids have maybe if it's an hour class, let them have 30 minutes in the class where they can feel and write.
Pandemic are gradually becoming worried following the incessant infection among nurses and doctors in the past few days. Now, last month, as many as 36 nurses contracted the virus. Now to some disturbing story, and another police officer has committed suicide. This time, a junior rank officer known as Constable Yelona Eugene stationed at the National Protection Unit. Now, he is said to have shot himself at the rich resident of a Togolese opposition leader exiled in Ghana, Gilchrist Olympio, here in Accra. His body was found lying prostrate in one of the washrooms. The deceased, according to close sources, had been unwell for some time now and was giving an excused duty to seek treatment. He reportedly resumed duty last Friday, January 29, but sought for an extension of the leave period to continue with his medication at home. He was reportedly denied that request and assigned on guard duties at the residence of the Togolese opposition leader, where he committed suicide by shooting himself. He is the second police officer to shoot himself in 3 days. We do some banking story now, and the Bank of Ghana has admitted and confirmed that Ghana is in debt crisis. Now, the latest figure release indicates more trouble for fiscal ahead if the trend of borrowing is not curtailed in 2021. As of November 2020, Ghana's debt to GDP ratio had risen to 74.4%, with a total debt standing at 286 billion cedis. Government officials blamed the surge on COVID-19 expenses, but critics insist that is questionable. There are suspicions that the hike in fiscal deficit to 11.8%, which is well over twice the 5.0% gap, was as a result of the waiver of the Fiscal Responsibility Act passed in 2019 but suspended last year. This was compounded by a sharp drop in domestic revenue following the impact of the pandemic and associated effect on businesses. Government also blames the debt on fiscal financial reforms and the refund of billions by way of payment to deposits in collapsed financial institutions, ostensibly to retain public confidence. Now, the University of Ghana is gradually returning to business after the recent strike by senior staff in protest over their non-payment of their Tier 2 pension arrears. Now, TVXYZ News has learnt the Student Account Office will resume operation today. This follows a directive as negotiations continue. The news coming barely a week after the nationwide strike, which virtually crippled academic work, has been received with some uncertainty about when other officers by the Senior Staff Association will resume. The striking university staff also are demanding an improved market premium and non-basic allowance, as well as migration of public universities onto the Controller and Accountant General system. Many among them are also saying they are unhappy about the cancellation of steady leave with pay, medical care for staff and families, among others. And a very final story, which also another sad story, and the founder of now defunct Accra-based Radio Gold has passed, Kwesi Senti Bafo. The late Bafo is said to have passed after a short illness. The late Bafo Boni in 2009 was appointed as senior political advisor to President John Mahama. From 2012 to 2016, Mr. Bafo Boni served as presidential staffer and senior advisor on political affairs to the president of the land. He also was the chairman of the Ghana Air Catering Services from 2006 to 2007. And that'll be it for your morning updates, news in brief.
Thank you, Wisdom.
So I'll be going.
All right, so we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll go to court.
Sure. So
you know, yesterday a friend was like, he called me and said, what's the matter? I said, I'm going to court. Say, what happened
what happened to you?
Like, what's the issue? I'm like,
he's safe, he's safe. No
so
drama.
We'll see.
Definitely, definitely. Now, thank you, Wisdom. Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Also, this is the morning update on TVXYZ. My name is Nana Abunasewa. I have been doing this with Eric Ahiano, and you just saw Wisdom, who came to give us detailed stories of some of the headlines that we have been discussing. These are dangerous times, and please, we would urge that we all observe the protocols put in place for COVID. Stay tuned, and we will be right back.
If I cry na menyisika, edia ye mefui.
Ehin fa na menya bosia, edia tre medjuma yimu.
Kai kra mabre, miye bosia ato taxi fufu. Suhum Rural Bank.
Suhum Rural Bank.
Yema kwa baba Suhum Rural Bank. Ye won hye ya hodo bi te se gadifo abosia, ekokro bosia, susu account. Eni da so wo ho savings account. Me bada chain savings account. Ene de keka ho. Suhum Rural Bank was 03422919896. Na won so wetumi aka se.
Suhum Rural Bank. Ama ene mayeka una.
Suhum Rural Bank. Enti me pa minie.
Suhum Rural Bank, growing our heritage.
We are one man short. Should we invite him?
Yes.
It be old cargo.
Can I join you guys?
Yeah. Always drink fresh, natural, mix, mineral, water.
Still got it.
Always keep hydrated naturally. That's my secret.
manufactured with the primary aim of preserving nature's finest minerals necessary for a healthy mind and body. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
Still on the morning update on TV XYZ, my name is Nana Abena Sewa. Now, yesterday, Dr. Kweku Efriye did make certain suggestions in Parliament, and we are here to diversify the topic. So, yesterday, Minister Designate for Environment, Dr. Kweku Efriye, stoked controversy in Parliament. He suggested that the reintroduction of schools under trees concept as a measure to prevent children from contracting COVID-19. Now, Dr. Efriye, who is a medical doctor and an experienced gynecologist, urged government to seriously consider his proposal. He urged that research shows that it is better for classes to be conducted in open-air spaces than in classrooms in fighting the spread of the pandemic. Now, let's take a video from Dr. Kweku Efriye. Let's hear him as he makes this suggestion.
It is very strange that places like Choko, Kolegono, and others, for some strange reason, those people are packed together, and yet there's minimal spread. It is because of the outdoor life. Here, we are saying that we are maintaining social distancing, but we are living in an enclosed capsule. And I'm suggesting that empirical thought, that because we have social distanced ourselves and yet we have encased ourselves in this kind of casing, might not exactly be good for us. In this sense, I recommend that we should even, as far as school children are concerned, that concept that we jettisoned, school under trees, we are in the dry season. I'm suggesting that as far as possible, schools should be organized under trees now, because the body of empirical evidence suggests that when you stay in non-enclosed spaces, you don't get infected. That knowledge must be put to good.
So that was Dr. Kweku Efriye. Now let's take a look at what we have on the screen concerning child COVID-19 cases. Also, Ghana Health Service has confirmed 3 cases of COVID-19 in schools since their resumption 2 weeks ago. 2 of the cases were recorded in 2 schools in Upper West, 1 in the Western region. Also, a Akomfanochi Teaching Hospital confirmed child cases 3 days ago. Among the 9 children involved, the youngest is an 11-year-old baby and the oldest is 14 years. The Child Health Directorate of the facility, Ghana's second largest health referral center, has recorded 25 cases since last year, 10 of these in January alone. This is a concern, a major concern that we should be looking at. Also, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, most children with COVID-19 have mild symptoms or have no symptoms at all. However, some children can get severely ill from COVID-19. They might require hospitalization, intensive care, or a ventilator to help them breathe. In rare cases, they might die. In November last year, a survey by Child's Right International revealed that 2,180 children in Ghana contracted COVID-19 since March. Now, 1,000 out of the 1,161 were girls and 1,019 boys. Again, the report indicated that most were 14 years old or lower. These may appear scary, especially for most of us in the cities who send babies to school even under 1 year. Most COVID-19 children survive, but still it brings a lot of things in mind. It makes us panic that if we are sending our children out there, let's have a recap of how COVID came about. Now, COVID, the first case that we had in Ghana was in March. It started as 1 person, it became 2, and now we are in the 5,000s. Children are in school, cases have started. It's 1, it's 2, it's become 25. Just in January, it's been 10. Why are we still letting our children in school? I mean, we will discuss this with an educator or an educationist on the line. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
We hope that you are keeping safe in these dangerous times.
Okay.
Hello, sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
So I was asking if you are keeping safe in these dangerous times.
Okay. Good morning to viewers this morning.
Good morning.
COVID-19 cases are still increasing, and honestly speaking, our cases are in danger, especially those at the lower primary. So before the resumption of schools, we advise the government to reconsider the time given to the lower primary, kindergarten up to primary 4, because their methodology in teaching and learning, it isn't like those at the upper level. So they could be given 3 weeks or 1 month instead of the 3 months given termly. So they are not really safe, because we have even observed that most of them are not able to even follow the safety measures put in place by the government. So honestly speaking, they are not safe. So there is so much time for us to do something about that than to be at the wrong side.
Okay, so sir, please, the president, in trying to curb the upsurge of COVID-19, did put certain measures in place, which is to ensure that just about 30 students will be in a class per session. But yesterday we heard the director for education saying that teachers are refusing to implement this rule because they are afraid they wouldn't get paid for their afternoon sessions. Now, with this in mind, would you say that we should be considering Dr. Kweku Efriye's suggestion of schools under trees?
This is a national canker, and it has been there for long. You see, our president closed down schools last year, 15th of March. So we thought that the ministry and the Ghana Education Service would take that opportunity to redress problems confronting the country, especially our education system. But we resumed school on the 15th of January 2021, and the problems are increasing. It means the institution or the organization named Ghana Education Service and the Ministry of Education are not proactive. Now, as we speak, schools under trees are real. When you go to the northern part of the country, eastern part of the country, upper east and the central region, you could witness a lot of these schools under trees. And it is worrisome. The Director General of Ghana Education Service do come to radio and TV, think as if things are okay. But things are not okay. And we are refusing to say the truth. All of us are pretending in the country. We don't really understand school and education. That is why we are facing all these kinds of problems. And we don't speak the truth. We are all much aware that the truth is light and life. So we just have to put things into places. Now, considering the implementation of social distance in classroom, let's go to the ground and see the number of schools having enough classrooms. Yesterday, I witnessed a program somewhere, and my sister, like, I just tried myself to restrain on certain things. Like, I nearly cried because you could see students entering bushes, bringing bamboo just to come and construct their own classroom block. What sins have they committed? Innocent kids are doing this, and we have people that are per diem allowances, taking huge salaries. In addition, they are not working. So we must not come on air and pretend as if things are okay. So this social distance issue that we are talking of is good, but we don't have the infrastructure to practice that. So that is the fact on ground.
So, Doctor, based on what you're saying, are you suggesting that we close the schools or government closes the schools?
Honestly speaking, I will not support the closure of school today or tomorrow. The reason is that who knows when COVID-19 will vanish? Nobody knows when COVID-19 is going to vanish. We just have to face the realities and be proactive. By so doing, we will be able to overcome the COVID-19. The whole issue is about policy implementation. We come out with policies, but with the implementation, we implement it poorly. See, we have budgets, of which we even do go to the parliament and even approve supplementary budget. But do we ask ourselves where the money has been going? We don't do. So if we should call for closure of school today, how many years are we going to be at home? And for how long are we going to wait for COVID-19 to vanish before we go back to school? We gave ourselves close to 1 year. We couldn't put things into places. So we have to face the realities, but we have to reconsider the case. That is the lower primary case. We have to consider them. But with the academic system, we need to keep it running and let our case be in school. I can't remember during the campaign time, our president told the kids to go home because they are not safe at school because of COVID-19. But I saw a lot of kids dancing and jamming under rallies. So even when we ask them to go home, parents are not too responsible to take care of their kids. So I think when they are in school, they are much safer than being at home. So we have to face the realities. We have to be responsible. Government do come and say whatever they have planned to do. But I will also take this opportunity to urge individuals, NGOs and stakeholders that government cannot do it alone. So if you come on board, we witness it. When we're raising funds to furnish the COVID-19 fund, we saw individuals, organizations and stakeholders who contributed. So it is not over. We are still fighting. They can still come on board, build infrastructure for schools who are lacking. I think by so that we can overcome. But going back home, it is not the solution.
Okay, Mr. Lambwedi, thank you so much for talking to us this morning. We hope that you have a good day. Now, let's hear what the public is saying about this suggestion from Dr. Kweku Efriye.
Good though, but the thing is, how many trees do we have, and will it be enough for the kids? And is it everywhere? Is it every school? Is it every school that there is a tree there for the kids? And how many kids can it contain? The tree. I mean, the tree. It's a very big distance. But I think that this thing, the way he talks about the free ventilation too, it's good too. But some more life is better than anything in this world. So it's better for school to be closed for the kids than maybe putting their life in danger.
Basically, what he said could be done, but on the second thought, I have taught before, and then this is what we do. Normally, when we teach for like 20 minutes, we take the rest of maybe, if it is 40 minutes a class, you take the rest of the 20 minutes, take the kids to maybe under the tree or outside, and then have a class. So basically, it's not going to be like the whole hours that you're going to teach under the tree. Let the kids have maybe if it's an hour class, let them have 30 minutes in a class where they can feel and write.
So those were the views from some people on the streets of Osu concerning schools under trees. Let's take some tidbits. We'll be right back.
The morning update on TV XYZ, and just a while ago you had a conversation on COVID, and the educationist who spoke said, yes, we cannot allow the students or the children to stay at home, but we also must be very responsible. He made reference to the fact that while the restrictions are supposed to be enforced, it looks like parents don't care. And I was touched when he particularly pinpointed what we witnessed during the elections. Lots of children were out there to see for the first time candidates as they were around the country, and nobody cared. And they are back in school and we are worried. Yet when they go home, nobody cares. I'm sure you've been to Jamestown, you've been to Teshimami, you've been to Nima. I'm talking about the densely populated parts of Accra, like many others across the country, where children, there's carefree attitude there. Look, if you're a parent, I want to tell you that children can get COVID. They may have stronger immune system, and so when they have it, they may not show symptoms, or maybe they may not fall sick and die, as we see among the elderly. But we have been told by medical practitioners that these children can easily transfer them to parents. So you can be 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, 80 years. This is the vulnerable group when it comes to COVID. And the advice is take it serious if you don't want to lose somebody you cherish. It's time for the newspaper review segment. And I have my guest here, Joe Jackson, is seated at the center. We all know him, no new face when it comes to the media space in Ghana, speaks well on issues about the economy. We are privileged to introduce him as one of our guests. And then Executive Director of ASEPA, Mensa Thompson, is also with us here. We'll be doing the discussions, but just to remind some of you who may have missed the newspaper headline segment, I want to go back and then just quickly touch on a few of the headline stories. The Ghanaian Times has on its front page, one of the banner headline actually talks about what happened at the Supreme Court. And this is making reference to the arguments during the cross-examination and the statements made by the lawyers for the two main parties, that is NDC and MPP, which has become a routine that after each proceeding, they try to interpret from their own understanding how things went in court. And this headline says, ongoing election petition. Akufo-Addo crossed 50% +1 to win election, Akoto Ampao affirms. And then government tightens restrictions to curb COVID-19, and Nana Jomo Bene appointed CEO of UMB. These are the big stories on the front page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. The back page says, FDA and MRA approve herbal medicine for COVID-19 clinical trial. The NMRA is the National Medicine Regulatory Agency. The Chronicle on its front page says, IGP awaits CID reports on death of 2 police personnel. And then we saw a reflection of Jean Mensa in our eyes. I don't know how exciting this will be, but all you have to do is to perhaps grab a copy of the newspaper and read for yourself. That's how far we can go with the headlines we are sharing. My lord, I am a palm wine tapper who is still trying to catch up, and mosquito tells law lords after grueling cross-examination by Akoto Ampao. The new Crusading Guide has on its front page the picture of Information Minister designate Kujon Nkrumah, and it says Akoto Ampao punches hole in Mahama's petition, and the FDA approves first herbal medicine for clinical trial of COVID-19 treatment. Now, the Business and Financial Times has on its front page, after will benefit everyone, not just mega business. I'll be going through the rest of the headline stories in the newspapers as we begin our conversation. I told you earlier about Joe Jackson. He's the business executive and corporate strategist, head of business operations at Dalex Finance. Sir, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, Eric. It's good to.
It's been a long time.
It has, and congratulations on I like your studio.
We are privileged, and when we get these compliments, it only encourages us to do more. We have a new program, Morning Update, which starts at 6:30 and ends at 9. And voices like yours, we believe, will help us to help grow this country. How has been the weekend? Today is Tuesday.
Well, the weekend was okay. It's just that the biggest issue was the issue of COVID. And when you were talking about the parents, and you see, I think there's a fundamental problem that I suspect we're glossing over. From the few people I talk to, it just seems like people, there are two classes: those who are tired and fatigued by the COVID restrictions, wearing masks, etc., and those who actually do not believe that COVID exists. And unless we work at educating those who do not believe that COVID exists, to extend it to ask the child to wear a mask is extending it. If the parent does not believe that COVID exists, and truly, there are a lot of people who don't believe that COVID exists. We have a situation where a very good friend of mine takes his driver and tests because they had been exposed in his household. The driver tests positive, but he's asymptomatic. Nothing shows. The driver gets angry. Why are you accusing me of this disease? There's nothing wrong with me. This disease does not exist. It's a disease for rich people. It's a disease for people who stay in a certain kind of environment. Why are you accusing me? And gets angry. And he's asked to stay at home, and my friend doesn't even know whether he'll come back or not. So we have a problem. And the problem is not just that there is the disease and is ravaging. The problem is that people don't truly believe the disease is. Now the sad thing is, by the time a family member falls sick, a friend falls sick, and you start to believe, it may be too late. And I think we've fallen down on the public education. I truly think so. That we have not done enough to educate the masses of people. And it's easy to mention if people felt at risk, right? Would they do what they're doing? Obviously, they don't feel the risk.
Is it that we are in a nation where people are not held to account? And so those paid by the taxpayer who have a sole responsibility to do A or B fail to do it. And when we are in crisis, all of us want to be in one basket and cry. You know, when you spoke, you made reference to the fact that people are not afraid. And so they assume that the sickness is for the rich. I've monitored the trend. The Mortuary Attendants Association are saying that the number of people dying are not what government is reporting. Whether it is true or not, we'll leave it there. The second one is that it looks as if the only deaths that we hear in the newspapers, we hear on TV, are high-profile personalities who are dead because of COVID. Now, if you are looking at how society behaves and how people get oriented on certain trends, then obviously, if I get to hear that a CEO of somewhere, a certain big man, a certain government official, a certain MP, somebody is dead because of COVID, and that trend continues, does it not suggest that even the system itself is helping the poor to take it that Oyesikafo Yoruba?
No, but let's be clear. You only report when people who are newsworthy die. Right? That's what we've been doing to date.
That should not be the trend.
I'm coming, and I was coming to that. I watch CNN, and I see them have a segment on what they call the real the effects of the pandemic, and they will go and interview somebody whose relative fell ill, whose relative fell sick, and in that segment, they're sharing the experience that truly this is not a disease only for those who are newsworthy. It is a disease for all of us. There's also one aspect which is very important. We will not change behavior by imposing laws. We will only change behavior by getting people to believe that I am at risk, you are at risk, and that coming here, I'm actually taking a risk. So I want to wear my mask. And when I meet your producer, he tells me, "Oh, Mr. Jackson, normally I'll take your bag, but COVID, I won't touch your bag." Those are things that reassure you. People don't believe, and it's not a 12,000 fine that will get them to wear a mask. It is when churches, mosques, media, all of us say we're going to do something that is going to encourage people to mask up, people to believe that the disease exists, and all that is required to educate people. It's not going to change if all we do is that wear a mask, and the policeman is standing there and he says wear a mask, and he's got somebody there who is selling a mask to you or trying to find you or collect a bag.
Those semantics won't work. I'll come back to you, but Mr. Thompson, briefly, let's touch on this subject and then move on to others. We are talking about COVID. We know government even went ahead to introduce what they call a law to give the president the powers to enforce COVID as it should be. We witnessed the implementation processes from when we went under lockdown to when people were being released in their numbers, 5,000 people, 2,000 people. All along that time, the public raised serious concerns. But my problem, I don't know your opinion, but my problem is that it looks as if some of the state actors or the state agencies like Ghana Medical Association is not being strong enough to speak to the truth, to help put pressure on whoever must be involved to do the right thing. You remember recently when there was the State of the Nation address, the president created the impression that COVID-19 was not spread during the elections. Ghana Medical Association was quiet. They rather spoke when one or two high-profile persons died that, oh, it is not actually true. That was more than 2 weeks after the first statement was made. Now, if institutions that must actually be putting pressure on those involved because they are also frontline actors are not helping things the way we want it, then I'm sure we are not going very far from where we are.
Yes, you have a point, and a very good morning to your cherished viewers and Mr. Jackson. Yes, it's a very serious issue, and I'll start off from, I think the difficulties that we are having with handling this pandemic is partly cultural. If you look at our cultural setting, we are people who live quite communally. We are people who neighbors. We love, we love to be close to each other. We love our gatherings. We live in compound houses. Our whole cultural and environmental setup makes it a bit difficult in our part of the world. And if you look at the example Mr. Jackson alluded to, you could see that because of our cultural settings, and it does not meet with these restrictions, which prevent us from being close to each other, from this show of affection and respect that we've all been brought up with. So it's a whole new thing, and I think it will take time for those things to sink in. And that is
1 year on.
Yes, it will, because
where is the time?
No, because we've lived culturally like this for a long time. You can't change the cultural behaviors of people within a year. That is where the responsibility of the government comes in and the state actors comes in.
You know where I have a slight disagreement with the point with cultural setting and it will take time. It's like war. If they are throwing bombs here, what would you do? You take immediate steps. Now, in every society, luckily we have this decentralization concept where you have unit committees, you have assembly members, you have traditional authorities, you have influential people in society. There is crisis. How do we bring all these actors on board so that in those little communities and hamlets, especially where the pandemic is spreading fast, you see every hand on board?
Yes,
that is missing.
Unfortunately, Eric, you're the only one who sees that there's a crisis. The person who the crisis affects must be able to see and appreciate that there's a crisis before the person can feel that we are in that kind of situation. If that situation is not created, for the person to feel that my life is in danger and that this thing is real, and that government itself is not trying to politicize the management of the pandemic, but is being more truthful and upfront with the issues and with the data on the pandemic, then the public, or we the citizens, are able to accept the reality a bit much faster than we are doing. But now it looks like government itself also try to manage the information on the pandemic, micromanage it in such a way that the citizens or the public get to know what type of information the government wants us to know and at what point in time. And that has also contributed in the way and manner we are processing this whole thing. Like we're just complaining about the deaths that are being reported. If we are only reporting deaths about high profile people, then the poor will think that they are not part of this pandemic. We haven't heard of any poor person dying. We haven't been able to, we haven't do so much, or we haven't done well on the public education aspect of it.
So what do you expect we must do?
I think that we are heading towards a crisis. If you look at the data coming out, if the rate of infection continues, within a month or two, we will likely near the Italian situation. And it's a serious, and this new strain that has come is even more deadlier and more transmissible than the previous one. So what we must do, which we have asked government, or we've talked about on so many occasions, is public testing. Increase the public testing, even if it is random, especially in areas which are becoming epicenters, or areas which large rates of people are being, large rates of infections are being recorded. I think that with the resources that have come to government, by now, some level of public testing in certain areas should have taken place. And that is what we believe, because you see, what you need to manage the crisis is data. And you must have accurate data to be able to appreciate the extent of crisis you are in.
It's a good point you are raising, but I just want to move us towards another area which is related. COVID has come. We went for resources. Resources have been expended. Some critics may say there is still, or they anticipate that we still have a lot of resources. And because we don't know when COVID will leave us, government cannot throw all in one project. And so they have to be very meticulous in expending it. Then we have the added impact. We have businesses. We have productivity that is likely to be slowed. And so government will expect revenue to come in, and it may not get what it has projected. Just 2 days ago, the Bank of Ghana was admitting that, yes, we are nearing a debt crisis. I've seen on the front page of the Daily Graphic a story which is making reference, Business and Financial Times, which is making reference to COVID and how it is most likely to affect
the physical,
and actually I found it says pandemic's new wave pushes Bank of Ghana to stay policy rate again. Okay. Obviously, COVID has its related impact on businesses. Joe, you are in the industry. You talk to players, and I'm sure you know how many have suffered over the years. And with this new trend and how the infection rate is going, there should be some concern. I don't know. Share with us the real impact and how perhaps from where they sit, they can also bring pressure to bear for all of us to do the right thing.
Okay. Now, I just want to make one comment before I touch on this issue of the pandemic. Remember that when you hear data, it is from 2 weeks ago. So please, let's all be clear. Let's steel ourselves. If the president says 64 people died in the 2 weeks leading up to his latest update, please, in his next update, expect a lot more than that. Because remember, in COVID, because of that incubation period, when you are reporting data, it is what happened 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Since then, more people are getting infected. More people are going to be hospitalized. And sadly, more people may pass away. That's the reality.
Yeah.
Now, with this particular issue, let no one ever be confused. The situation is dire. I'm not saying the situation is
considerably manageable.
No. The situation is dire. Why do I say the situation is dire? Our economy was already wobbling. And listen, let nobody be confused. Ghana is broke. And when I say Ghana is broke, it was broke before COVID. COVID just made things a lot worse. And matters, you see, it is not for nothing that the Minister of Finance a year ago said COVID is going to be the worst situation Ghana has faced since, economic situation it has faced since independence. And interestingly, it is not for nothing that the previous minister, Setekpe, also agreed with Ken Oforiatta. Let nobody ever be confused. We've borrowed so much that I don't know whether we can even borrow more. We are in a situation where our ability to borrow is hampered by our ability to generate income. You see, it's simply this. If you earn 1,000 cedis a month, right, and I give you a loan of 10,000 cedis, and I say this 10,000 cedis, pay it over 10 years, you are just paying 1,000 cedis a year. Your income can support it. If I say pay it in 1 year, there's trouble. Right now, close to more than 50% of the revenue we generate every year just goes to debt service. Before COVID, we were hovering around 47%. Now we don't even know what the final figures are, but they are definitely going to go over 50%.
What I saw was where we are is about 74% of GDP.
You see, the percent of GDP, forgive me, it doesn't matter. Why do I say so? If you earn 1,000 cedis and I give you a loan of 50,000 cedis and I give you long enough, the effect is small. Go to the US, they have borrowed over 109% of their GDP before COVID. Debt service is only 11% of taxes. Come to Ghana, we had borrowed only 70% of our GDP. But debt service alone is now over 50%. What would you say when you get your pay? 50% of your pay goes to pay debt, the interest on debt. How much is left for rent? How much is left for hospital bills? Transportation, paying your children's school fees,
food,
health, food.
No savings.
And you have no savings.
I'll come back to you, but Mr. Thompson, the concern is that COVID has come. We all acknowledge that the economy was in crisis even before COVID came, but the truth is it has worsened it. What do you anticipate going forward? Because this is a government that will be under pressure to import vaccines. This is a government that will be under pressure to make sure statutory payments are always made. And we also have staff of public institutions which must be paid. So you foresee an economy strangulated, a government which must continue to assure us, because I've seen some documentaries and statements suggesting that we are on course and everything, there's no need to worry. From where you sit, what do you see going into the future?
Well, I think the government is going to need a lot of revising of its communication on the economy, because the first step of addressing any problem is to admit that there's a problem in the first place. And so far, government haven't done so much in terms of that, in accepting the challenges or the extent of the challenges confronting our economy. I think that we are going to need a change in that. Apart from that, I think we are going to need a bit more innovation. And I'm seriously looking forward to the first budget that we presented to the floor, to Parliament in March. I'm seriously looking forward to it, because that is who, in fact, it is going to be the gateway where our economic recovery will be decided on, because the things or the measures you put in place now is what is going to decide whether your economy will recover or your situation will worsen. And I am looking forward to a number of things which we expect that it will feature strongly in the next budget that will be presented in Parliament. Key of them is cutting down on the wastage or needless expenditures. Needless expenditures.
That some are started.
We see, yes, we are happy the number of ministers have been cut down. In fact, we want to see a much reduction even in the number of presidential staffers. In fact, if your income is low or you're not getting income at all, I think the most prudent thing to do is to cut down on your expenditure. And we're going to need the government to be able to be a bit more prudent in the expenditure in the coming days, so that we can save enough revenue. We can have the fiscal space to be able to push resources to where it's needed the most to sustain the economy. If government comes and continue on this previous path of waste, in wastage, in expenditures, investing in needless, activities and putting resources where, you're not likely to get it back or it's not likely to bring any returns to the state, then we are sorry. We are only headed to doom.
You may sit somewhere and assume that actions taken by government, as you put it, is wastage. But I'll come to you, Joe Jackson, and Mensah Thompson. I've not cut you entirely. I'll come back to you, but I want the conversation to be more interactive. You might have something contrary to the position I'm holding, but I want to premise it on this. He made reference to wastage. Some are saying misplaced priorities. There's freebies in the system as we speak. Free electricity, free water. Some are saying that the resources that go into free electricity and water, is it what Ghanaians need or government needs to put out in its effort to fight COVID? Could that money that would have gone to ECG or, let's say, Ghana Water Company, if government was going to pay, could that money have been translated into something else that will make a direct impact on the fight against the disease? With what he has said and this context I put across, I want you to think through while I go through some few text messages, and then I'll take your response. This one says, we are not heading towards a crisis. We are already in crisis. Eric, the government is managing the death toll to paint a good picture. The scary thing is that people could be dying of COVID-19 without we even knowing. There's a time we should be championing online learning, intensify the strict adherence to COVID protocols, and stop unnecessary politics. And this one is from Eric Kinsley Sewonu Chinderi in the OT region. I'll read a few more. This one says, I want to be a bit fast this time. This one says, good morning to you all. The radio stations that might help spread the news have been closed down by these greedy thieves and hypocrites. Your words are very harsh. And I beg you, let me also use this platform to share with our audience that in as much as you may have a strong point or already angry because of the inaction of certain institutions, just tone down with the direct attacks or insults so that we make this platform a bit appropriate for people who are not comfortable with these things. But I'll continue to read the rest of your text messages. Come on, can't you guys do anything about the closure of the radio stations? And it goes on, and I think the emphasis is on the radio stations which have been closed. We pray that government, somebody will touch government's heart for the right thing to be done. It says, I'm Abbas from Ablekuma. This one says, greetings to you. I'm watching you from Bolga and want to say keep the good job on. Please, can the public get any update on the parliamentary seats that are being contested in courts? This is James in Bolga. The other text message says, God is going to see the NDC through this petition case from Reverend Vincent Pechi. The other text message here says, good morning, TVXYZ. I'm so excited for the program. Keep it up. Nicholas from Chachesco, KJB, in the Akan district or the Akan area of the OT region. Now, good morning. I'm watching you live from Diaba in Doma West. Please tell the NDC parliamentarians that if they keep on with the consensus building, 2024 we will build it in their houses. We don't want betrayal. They should remember how Nanado and his MPP treated John Mahama in 2012. That's why the NDC suffered. 2016 was a good, what is good for the goose is good for the gander. My regards to the MP for Doma West, Honorable Vincent Oponsamwa from Yao Space, Diaba. Last one, Joe Jackson, I'll come to you shortly. This one says, I visited some schools recently in the Western North, and the problem I saw in most of the schools is lack of furniture. And he sent us a picture of lack of furniture. You'll be joining us along the line. I will tell you when to call, but look at the numbers on the screen: 020-415-5888 and 020-415-5944. I will tell you when I will start picking calls. But Joe Jackson, I put across a scenario, and what you propose should be the direction as an advice to government even before they send their budget to Parliament.
You see, the truth of the matter is that there are some hard decisions that we must take. And forgive me, the size of cabinet is big, and we are all happy that the size of cabinet is being reduced. But I tell you, that will barely make a dent on the challenges that we are facing. And the challenges we are facing, we must go back and address some key issues. Free SHS, NAPCO, the hospitals we want to build, the freebies we give. You see, we are broke. There's no free lunch. Cutting down on the staff at the presidency is important too. But it's like, I'm broke, I owe, I don't know what to do. And you say, okay, I should stop eating twice a day and eat once a day. It may help the issue, but it won't solve my problem. The problem is this: wastage is key, but we've got to, first of all, got to address this whole issue of corruption, which is taking away any estimate up to 40% of the money we spend. Put that one aside. They've got to address all those populist consumption issues that we all like, right? And it's easy to point fingers at the government and say your cabinet is too big. We've got to accept that going into this year, in the situation we are with COVID, we can't have the freebies. So some of the sacred cows we have, free SHS, some of the pork projects, what do you call it? NAPCO,
free water,
free electricity. We are going to free electricity. We are going to build how many hospitals? The hospitals we have to be rationalized and fully equipped, not build new ones. That's the reality. It's not even an issue of whether we like it or not. You are broke. There's no money. You are borrowed to the hilt, and you can't just keep borrowing.
Good point, but somebody might say governments are voted into power. Their job is to take right decisions, as you said, but they also communicate through their decisions. You won an election and you come and tell me that because of COVID, I'm reconsidering free SHS. You won an election and you want to come and tell me that because of COVID, you are cancelling NAPCO. How is that communication going to be received? Mr. Thompson, you speak to political issues. We are looking at going forward. What do you think government must consider or parliament can do? Because now we have a parliament that is even. We have a speaker of parliament that cannot be easily manipulated. Is it possible that the parliament can actually demonstrate to Ghanaians that they are putting government to check, and what Joe Jackson has referenced can be done through parliament using the privileges that they have?
Yes, of course. The role of parliament is going to be very, very important in going forward, in making sure that government is on the right path to addressing the issues that this pandemic has brought onto us. But not just parliament. I think we, the citizens, are also going to play a critical role in ensuring that we don't leave so many things to the politicians like we've done. I think nationally, we need to build that strong national interest in issues affecting us. There's so much, little public interest in some of these things, and especially in the decisions that these politicians take on our behalf. And so, whilst we expect Parliament to, through the legal framework, ensure that they keep these people in check, we, the citizens, must also be a bit upfront, must take key interest, because this is about our life. People are dying, people are losing their livelihoods, people are losing their jobs. And so, the actions that government takes must be a matter of interest to all of us. There are other critical things, which collectively, we must all do. Like Mr. Jackson, reiterated. The issue about wastage coupled with the issue of corruption, how we check corruption. We are losing about 3 billion to corruption each year. These are monies that could go into productive aspects. These are monies that could go into buffers that can provide that kind of grounding to our economy and other relevant, activities of state. The issue of freebies, which we talked about, which I think is a very, very dicey one. Now the government was going to have to look at it. What they really want to do. Do you want to be truthful to the people, like President Kufuor, when he was in power, did? When he came to office, he made a lot of campaign promises. When he came to power and he saw the extent of the economy or the real situation, he opened up to the people and said, look, these are the promises we made to you before the elections, but when we came in, this is the real situation that we are faced with. So Ghanaians, tighten your belt. Let us move this country out of the situation that we are in, and then the country will be a better place. I think the ball is in the court of government now to rather be truthful to the people and say, look, these are issues which we know are very much important to you. These are issues that we've also stood on campaign platforms and made promises to you. But looking at the current situation, global situation, and the pandemic that we are in, our economy is not strong enough to sustain these things. And so, we want all of you to bear with us. We are going to have to take a lot of these things away, but with the hope that the resources which we are taking away is going to put into realistic use, and provide outcomes which we can all see that, look, when government took the resources that was going to free SHS away, he was able to give us this in return, and this brought us back or helped in this way towards our economic recovery from the pandemic. When government took away our free water, this is what the resources went to. I think linking the taking away of these, populist, consumptionist, policies like Mr. Jackson referred to it, and linking them with, reasonable or tangible things which those resources have been put to in helping to alleviate
the problem.
Yes, alleviate the problem. People will also be key.
We'll be taking some few phone calls because this program is supposed to be very interactive. That's the strategy we are adopting to ensure that the people watching us do not become passive. We want them to participate. But I want us to touch briefly on this incident of suicide among police officers. We had one involving a district commander And just before we settled on that, another young officer also shoots himself. Joe Jackson, from where you sit, what does this communicate? And briefly, what do you think the police administration must do?
First of all, I think that mental health has been a huge issue in this country, and we have stigmatized it. And even if you tell somebody who is patently and clearly ill that go and seek help, the person says, and then which is my brother man? Are you implying that I am crazy or mad? No. Mental health is as important as what do you call it? Your physical health. Now, I'll be saying this to you that I'm not particularly shocked that 2 policemen have committed suicide. I think mental health has been a cancer that has been with us for a long time. The difference being that the policemen who suffer from mental health issues as much as the rest of us have easier access to the tools that they can use to harm themselves. And that even though this is an issue for the police command and they must look at it, I think that as a society there's a larger issue at stake. That we are in transition. The old communal life that you alluded to, Mr. Thompson, is not as it was before. The support systems are not as before. The stresses of this life are a lot worse. The migration from rural areas to urban areas where we are all living a life remote from each other. The issue of the tremendous growth in income inequalities, where people are living at the heights of luxury and others are living at the depths of poverty, combined with social media so that all of us can see. If I have a private jet, I take a selfie in my private jet and everybody can see it. If I have an iPhone 12, I take a picture, everybody can see it. And so when I'm carrying this my small Nokia C whatever, I know that.
So what can the police administration do in these trying times?
Police administration is part of all of us.
I am making reference to what is affecting the institution now.
You see, here's the difference in our positions. You say it is a police problem. I say it is a general problem. That the policemen, the only difference is that policemen have the tools to harm themselves easier than you and I. Should the police administration deal with it? Yes. But all of us must deal with it. People are committing suicide on a daily basis.
Mr. Thompson, just briefly so that we can take some conversation from the other end of those watching us. Do you think there are solutions that are lying fallow?
Yes, of course there are. I mean, once there's a problem, there's a solution. It's up to us, like Mr. Justin said, to find the solutions. And to find the solutions, we need to go to the core of the issues. I mean, the core of issue is, one, are we paying enough attention to mental health in this country as we need to? That's a critical question.
There is a Mental Health Act. It is supposed to see the decentralization of services. Dr. Kwesi Osei has been fighting this. It took years before even a board was set up. And nothing has happened since. Parliament, which passed it, doesn't care what has happened after that.
Go and look at budgetary allocations to institutions of mental health and how much actual releases even goes to them.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt. You heard me laughing. I'm laughing because we don't take it serious. None of us do. Thank you very much. How much of our budget goes towards mental health? And even when we have allocated, how much is paid? Anybody who doubts that we don't take mental health issues seriously in this country, should go exactly as my brother here is saying.
So wrap up and let me hear you. You can call us now while Mr. Thompson is speaking, and the number on the screen, you can see it. I don't have to mention it. Just look at it and then call us now. Mr. Thompson,
So
continue.
until we actually pay attention to it, inculcate it into our public education system, make people understand that yes, mental health is also a sickness. It's a disease. We don't, in this country, we think mental health is like, maybe it's a disease, it's a sickness. Like you have malaria, like somebody have this. And we put systems in place. Our medical infrastructure is enough to support people who undergoes these crises. And governments are actually taking these issues seriously. And we, the citizens, are also taking it a bit more seriously. Until these fundamental issues are addressed, I think this situation will keep going. Every day
there is
we'll
a
come back.
scenario that always comes to mind, and I feel it is something we have accepted as normal. I live in a community. I'm a taxpayer. I have a right to even confront a contractor executing a road project, and I can see that he's doing shoddy work. I don't care. The road project is completed. They do their kickbacks, and after 1 month or two, when I see potholes, I go to the media houses, I go on social media, and I am complaining. We have Mental Health Act. We have a board in place. They know the revenue they get in terms of budgetary allocations are inadequate. We have institutions of state that work in collaboration with the board to implement the law. So we have Ghana Registered Nurses Association, we have Ghana Medical Association, we have all the allied agencies. Now, they all keep quiet and nobody talks. And when we kill ourselves, we come and complain. I'm told there's somebody on the line. Let me pick that call. But this food for thought, so that when we come back, we continue. Good morning and thanks for calling. Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Unfortunately, the line dropped, and I'll tell those calling that because of some of the challenges we have been facing, just bear with us, and I am pretty sure we can hear some of you before the end of this program. Mr. Thompson, you were on the floor, and I raised the issue about how can we as a people accept that, look, you have somebody at the helm of affairs coordinating issues, but you and I have an equal responsibility to demand what is ours. It is not a crime. But it looks like a lot of people are afraid when they know what must come to them, it's not coming, yet they just keep quiet and fold up. What is really the problem, and how can we change from such attitudes?
Well, I think this is a multidimensional problem. I think
sorry, because good morning, Mr. Thompson. Go ahead.
First of all, the citizens' orientation. Do we even know that this is what is even due us for us to even demand for it in the first place? How many of us are aware that there's these institutions exist and this is the role they have to play in ensuring that we have a very viable mental health regime? So that is one. Then I think also the commitment of governments also in some of these things, and the public officers, their responsibility to us, for them to also understand that they owe we the citizens that primary responsibility to ensure that they do what is required of them, and that they distribute the national cake efficiently, and they prioritize national spending and put it into areas where the public will stand to benefit, such as areas of mental health.
Okay, let's move on to another conversation that is actually trending. I know because of the nature of the operations of the Supreme Court, we are going to be very careful with our commentaries. There is a case there, the election petition case. And I'm sure all of us are following proceedings. And we hear lawyers on all sides when they address us. From where you sit, how do you see things unfolding?
Well, yesterday it was a very interesting situation in court when the star witness for the petitioner was being cross-examined by counsel for the second respondent. I think My highlight of the day was when a video evidence of a press conference which the witness had held, claiming victory for their party, which is the NDC, was submitted, to the courts, through cross-examination by counsel for the second respondent, Akoto. And, what the press conference said was that, or the impression that the counsel wanted to create was that the witness had created the impression in public that they actually won the elections, but they've come to court to claim that nobody won the elections. And it was a very interesting back and forth situation there. You remember in 2012 the NPP also went to court, and they were also, in fact, and before they went to court, they also held a series of press conferences claiming that they won the elections and that the election had been rigged. But when they went to court, what was their case? Their case was that the court should annul some polling station results because of irregularities so that they can be declared winners. So you could see that it's a similar, case here. Now, for me, from where I sit, the principal issue is not what you said outside the court, because anybody can make any claims outside the court. But when you come to court, you bring a reasonable action which you can prove. You bring an action which you have evidence which you can prove. Now, Mr. Esiedun Ketia may have said he won the elections in court, but
outside court.
So outside the court. But what he is testifying to in court, which is a case the petitioner has brought. And what is the petitioner's case? The petitioner's case is that the second respondent did not receive the constitutional threshold of 50% plus 1 to warrant the declaration made in his favor by the first respondent.
Which we all know.
Which we all
know.
So that is
so I'm basically saying your commentary on what is happening and perhaps what you anticipate. If you can wrap up in a minute.
So that is what I'm wrapping up on.
Okay.
So now, what I see, my commentary is that that video, even though it may seem different from the case of the petitioner, I think it's irrelevant and does not help the respondent's case or the respondent's defense, because the petitioner's case is that the second respondent did not get 50% plus 1.
So you see from the cross-examination that there were figures that came up.
Yeah.
And there was a contest about which figure actually represents the facts as we speak now, with reference to the figures declared by the EC. Do you anticipate, maybe let me leave you briefly and take it to...
if I can conclude on that
Do you anticipate that there will be collation at the court in terms of all the pink sheets that will actually be put together to culminate in the...
And I was going to conclude on that. So now, the issue is that there were several results which has been churned out by the first respondent. And the first respondent result is what is in dispute in court. Now, for the court to make a determination of the matter, the core question which I think the court must answer is that did the second respondent get the 50% plus 1? That is a question that the court must
says
in the trial. No, so now, how is the court going to arrive at this conclusion? Is it through the figures of the first respondent which is in dispute, or the court is going to set an independent, inquiry?
I get you.
To arrive at the conclusion. And I think that the decision of the court in choosing which route to use to arrive at that conclusion is at the heart of the fairness of this trial.
Now, Joe, you've been listening to the lawyers of both sides, and we also watch proceedings. We draw our own conclusions before they step out and talk to us, and they give us their own interpretation of whatever must have happened. Now, we all observe from where you sit and from what we have seen so far. What do you anticipate going forward, and what would you share with those who are still very anxious?
Essentially, I'm just waiting to see the chair of the EC come and speak. Yesterday, there was a lot of drama and back and forth, but I like your analysis and I think it is fair. All those things they don't really address the heart of the issue. You know, what, forgive me, but what Asiedun Ketia said or did not say is not why we are in court. And however much it makes for good viewing and good PR, and I must admit that in some parts of yesterday's cross-examination came across, you know, like a good old legal thriller. Theatrical. But it's theatrical, it doesn't change anything. The issue at stake is simply this. Did the president get the required 50+1? So whatever happens, we've got to address that issue. And it will be interesting to hear the EC come to
the witness box.
The witness box. Because remember that to complicate this issue is this. The EC had admitted earlier that itself, and I use the exact words that they use, inadvertently had made some errors. That saddens me because you see, that is your job and you shouldn't make these errors. But we are all waiting to hear the EC. When the EC comes, then we will know really where we are heading. This one is
just the preparatory part of the heat we are expected.
It's part of the case.
It's part of the case.
And then things must go on. When you provide evidence as a witness,
yes,
you must be cross-examined, and you know your credibility as a witness will be ascertained by the court, and your testimony, what you share with the court, will also be ascertained. But the crust of the question has still not been answered, which is, did the second respondent get the 50%+1 vote? And like Mr. Jackson said, those questions would become evidently clear when the EC
the processes, the hearing is over.
When the EC chairperson,
no, not the hearing is over.
When the EC chairperson
comes to sit there,
EC chairperson
and is cross-examined,
the chairperson of the first respondent takes the witness box.
Yes.
Well, we don't know when that will be, but today, Dr. Besa White, the former chief executive of the National Service Secretariat, will be taking the witness box, and TVXYZ will be bringing you live proceedings as it unfolds. This is TVXYZ. The program is Morning Update. It starts at 6:30 to 9 o'clock. The newspaper review segment starts at 7:30, and that is where you can also join us and then share your views by sending us text messages via WhatsApp. The numbers always appear on your screen, and then you can also call us. We also want to make it very interactive, and you can hear at the background that we made an attempt to speak to another person. We are having some technical challenges. They are still trying to fix it, but I believe that we'll continue to read the text messages, and then when we have the opportunity to speak to you, we will hear your voice. Now, this text message here says, "Good morning, TVXYZ. I'm happy with the morning update. A big but, and tell the NDC committee members that they should be very careful with the vetting of the ministers." And this one didn't come with a name. And then you also gave an additional text message. You have to give an, okay, this one is an advice, and so I'll just leave it. This one here says, "Thank you, TVXYZ, for introducing the morning show program on the COVID. I think Ghanaians are suffering dishonest leadership because we chose campaigns over human lives. During the voter registration exercise, soldiers were deployed to the border towns and regions in the name of COVID. They should be sent back because the COVID is seriously back." This is James in Bolga. I'm not too sure if the soldiers have left the borders, because at the last COVID update, the president said the borders remain closed. I can only anticipate the stress, the pain, the hardship. Many people who have lived along the border, who have depended on the economy of those areas because of the cross-border activities, and how they'll be feeling now so many months under some seeming lockdown because they cannot cross the border either at the Lubo side or the Togo side or at the upper part of the country. This text message here says, "Good morning, Eric and my good brothers, Joe Jackson, I love the man, and Thompson. Great discussion. I must say, I feel so disappointed that our leaders sit and watch the COVID situation deteriorate to this alarming level. The writing on the wall was so clear during the electioneering campaigns that we will be arriving at this sooner. And Joe said it. Our economy was already in the bad shape before COVID. The pandemic only served as hot water and brought out the real color of our economy. May God help us." This is Dr. Daniels, Accra Business School. This one is from Nene Banflo from Lejokuku. It says, "Good morning, Eric. The rampant increase in COVID-19 has the state taking serious checks on the nose mask imported from the most COVID-affected countries like China?" This is a question. This issue keeps coming. And the last one before we take a break is how government managed information on COVID is not helping at all. I tried educating someone on the disease, and he told me to go and educate big man that COVID dose do not kill. So big men that COVID dose do not kill. A poor, it's not calculable. But the impression I get is that you try to educate somebody and he says, go and educate the big men because poor people are not affected by COVID. That issue was raised by Joe Jackson, that it looks like the education is not sinking. I believe that the conversation is helping us to appreciate the fact that it is real. We'll be taking a short break, but it is not going to happen without touching X natural mineral water. I will show this ball. Please, if you have a kid, just introduce these balls in your home. They will love it. They say water is life. If you drink water, you stay healthy. It cleanses your system. And if you have an attractive ball like this, and your kids love it, your kids will take water. They'll stay healthy, no medical bills. You'll be smiling, they'll be happy, and there's no problem. Keep drinking X natural mineral water. If you want it in bulk, just watch our screens. We'll be sharing with you the numbers so that you can go and take them in bulk if you want to be a distributor. We'll be back after the break to continue the conversation from the newspapers.
The average human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance in any physical or mental exercise. We can help you maintain it naturally. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
Welcome to AutoCheck Vehicle Diagnostic and Licensing Center.
I hear my car can be checked here without going to so many hour crash.
Sure.
Check, auto checks. Check, auto checks. Check.
Emission, check.
Check, auto checks.
Alignment, check.
Auto checks. Check, auto checks.
Brakes, check. Visit AutoChecks at Koforidua Aquadum Road for the roadworthiness of your vehicle, from saloon cars to heavy-duty industrial vehicles. Madam, your car is now ready for the road.
Thank you so much.
Auto checks.
Auto checks. Check.
AutoChecks. Your safety, our priority.
Check, auto checks.
Peace of mind is very essential in your journey to success. For our Kwesi Papa, peace of mind means having a proper covering over his family. Literally. For Araba, aka Injection Mama, it's about having the funds to complete her advanced nursing course. And as for Corporal Odami, it's as simple as reporting on time for his shifts. Sometimes all you need is a simple push. At Needs Microfinance, we have tailor-made loan packages for salaried workers under the Controller General's Department. With the low interest rate and quick wahala-free process, you are guaranteed of a timely solution to get back that peace of mind, literally in 30 minutes. Needs Microfinance. Growing with you.
Thanks for staying. This is Morning Update on TVXYZ. We are also live on Wezo TV on Facebook. Just call a friend. Chase us on Facebook, Wezo TV or TVXYZ, or subscribe to YouTube, and you will always get the opportunity to watch this show at any time, or share the link with friends. If you are home, just look for your Go TV or look for a digital TV platform and then watch us. Or if you have a satellite TV, bingo, you have clear pictures and you enjoy the show. I can also assure you that TVXYZ will be coming up with a lot of local exciting programs that will actually satisfy your taste, because many of you are sending us messages. You are yearning for a platform that will bring home what you want to hear. This is the newspaper review segment. It always starts at 7:30, ends at 9 o'clock. I'm here with Joe Jackson. He's no new face in the media space. Mensa Thompson is always here and there. And people say you are a press conference man. You don't sleep. Almost every day you are issuing a statement.
Yes, I think it's important that we keep the people,
especially authorities in check.
Yes, in check, and also keep the public interest alive.
Okay, now let's look at something that is in relation to the public interest thing we talked about. On February 10, the Appointments Committee of Parliament will be busy. I'm sure they will bring their proceedings live. So Ghanaians will have the opportunity again, like the Supreme Court petition, to hear proceedings at the committee level. The fact is that many of Nana Akufo-Addo's appointees have been re-elected. A lot of them are not going to come again. And all of us are happy that government is trying to manage expenses from its end. But even before we look at the expectation, the anticipation of what will happen, let's look at the renomination of the Central Bank governor for another 4 years. He has been with us for 4 years. We have witnessed what has happened under his tenure. He claims, with the support of government, they took bold decisions in collapsing several microfinance institutions, banks, which were indigenous. And then under his regime, he claims that they were able to stabilize the economy, the city is stabilized, and a lot of things they can talk about. And I believe that as watchers from the fence, this is the time for us to see whether this renomination is appropriate or is best for our path going forward. Joe, let me start with you. It's your domain first.
I'll be honest with you. The governor, and when you look at his tenure from beginning to end, you will. My assessment is that he deserves to be nominated for a second term. Listen, the challenge with the financial industry, it was there. It was rotting and needed to be fixed. Successive governors had failed to bail the cat and were afraid of the problem. He came in and he tackled the problem. We may not necessarily agree with all the actions that were taken, but was the action necessary? Yes. Was it done exactly the way we thought? No. But it was necessary to take action against some of the institutions that were truly putting all of us at risk. That you have to give him credit for. There's some things that I will hold against him. Number one is that the retrieval of our funds that went to support the financial sector cleanup has been appalling. To date, we have not even collected 15% of the money that went out. And when you hear a whole governor appealing and talking about the Chief Justice should assist, I'm like, you're the governor. So that, I think, is a blot on, but it does not, that blot does not do away with the boldness with which he started his regime. Then finally at the end, the central bank has financed government at levels which some of us find worrying. And his only saving grace was that at the beginning of this year, he came out to say, going forward, I won't finance you again. No. It was a public statement. So that era of financing government, literally printing money, there was, if you look at what we call the amount of the money in the system, it jumped up in the last quarter in ways in which we should query the governor and say, Oga, Ernest, why is it that this one, the way you started and were working, this last bit here, we don't see it? We should also query him that why is it that people are not being, we are not collecting our money. You see, it's not about prosecution. Prosecution is another level. At least collect the money. And we have the example of Nigeria to look at, where they also had their financial sector cleanup, and where those that were not necessarily jailed, but they paid back the money. Here, every time you say hold people to the accounting, it's like you're a wicked man. You are in the financial sector yourself. You want your fellow people to go to jail. No, it's not. We want the public purse that has been used to pay for your mismanagement. We want to replenish the public purse with the proceeds of your mismanagement.
Now, but Mr. Thompson, his assessment is that yes, pros and cons. He has spoken about it. The man deserves a second term. Now, how do you weigh a bold decision and then you compare that to failure to act on those bold decisions? I witnessed the Rambo style with which is it not Capital Bank, the one owned by the former military officer, UT Bank.
Yeah.
I think that was the first.
Mm-hmm.
And so
UT and Capital were the first.
Yeah. If you watch how they used Rambo style, one night we wake up one morning and they have taken all over, which means that they have identified most of the assets already because they should operate with Intel. Is it not enough for them to immediately confiscate? Because I know about some auctions. So if you are spending billions of Ghana cedis to pay back those whose deposits have been locked, and all those things involved is state money, and your action has resulted in those losses because the people still own. Is it not heavy enough for us to say it doesn't warrant a second term?
Well, Eric, that's where I will agree with you, and I would beg to disagree a bit with Mr. Jackson here. I agree with the latter part of his submission, but I don't agree with the earlier part, which is the fact that he deserves a second term. And in fact, I'm looking, maybe he may be looking at it from the financial point of view. I'm looking at it from the accountability point of view because that's my area. And looking at it from the accountability point of view, I don't think the governor deserves a second term. And in fact, we actually we'll petition the Council of State when it is duly constituted. We have a number of issues that we are going to bring against the governor. In fact, a lot of them which has criminal consequences or some violations of our law consequences which we think, took place. Of course, there were challenges with the sector which needed an action to be taken. But the actions should have been taken in cognizance with the laws of this country and the rules, especially in respect of the Banking Act at 930 and other relevant laws, which we believe that the governor should have been very cautious of these relevant provisions in taking actions against, in the closure of some of the financial institutions which they took down. Up to date, the governor has still not been able to justify why they closed Heritage Bank. And I don't think that, these are issues that should be allowed to be swept under the carpet. Look at the issue of the creation of CBG and its associated issues, and how CBG was allowed to take over some selected assets of these financial institutions, when actually they have not even received what we call the operation certificate from registration from the Registrar General, when even the banks which they had closed down had not seen a copy of the report which had done an assessment of these banks in accordance with law. And I don't think that this governor deserves a second term. And the same way we have challenged or we have opposed the nomination of Mr. Ken Oforiatta, we are going to do the same with the governor as well, because we believe that these two people acting together, I think put the financial sector of this economy at risk with serious breaches, unacceptable violations of the laws of this country.
Are you not over-exaggerating the concern that you are raising? I'm asking this deliberately because the other eye may look at it this way, that look, weighing, because that was the premise of the question I put to you, that yes, there are other parts of the things he has done that has not been complete. And so we have spent so much money on the actions you have taken, and you are failing to act on the other aspect that will make sure that where the potholes were created, we can fill them. Now, you are looking at criminal implications with regards to some of the actions he has taken. But there are actors there who are supposed to make sure these things are handled. Parliament has a supervisory role because they can invite the governor to come and answer questions. I believe that even though the finance ministry works in collaboration with the sector, the other players in the banking industry, for example, also are closely monitoring. But what I've heard from stakeholders in the industry are all positive, complimentary remarks.
Yes, of course, because they are looking at it.
And so they are looking at it differently from where you are sitting.
Yeah, they are looking at it probably from the financial aspect, which is their area. But, Eric, we can't throw the baby away with the bathing water. You understand? If you want to address a problem, the laws provide a regulatory guideline for you to address a problem. When you violate the problem, when you break the laws of the country, we don't say because you are fixing a problem, so you are at liberty to break our laws with impunity. That cannot be an excuse. And so, yes, you may be fixing a problem, but work within the law. Work within the regulatory powers granted you as a governor of a central bank. Don't go beyond your remit and take decisions not acceptable.
You are in the industry. And for those who don't know much about Joe Jackson, I just want to tell you who he is so that he can respond to Mr. Thompson's concern. Joe Jackson is the executive and corporate strategist. He's the head of business operation of Dalex Finance. Yes, genuine concerns. From where you said, what's your reaction?
Let me agree with him on a very critical point. On the issue of Heritage Bank, it's one of the institutions that were closed where we can still, to today, have a debate as to whether it was clear and justified or not. And that we cannot
do now.
We cannot do now.
We have 5 minutes to end.
But you see, and that's the problem. The problem is that there were also other institutions which were clear-cut which had no business doing what they were doing. And you see, let us not be confused. No one should set up a financial institution to finance their own business.
Okay, unfortunately, we don't have much time. Mr. Thompson is looking at me. Yeah. There's not much time. Sorry. Another time.
Sure.
Thank you for watching. And for those who try to join us by making phone calls, unfortunately, that could not be possible. We are sure that maybe tomorrow we can give it a try. All those who have sent text messages, we are grateful. We'll be taking a break. When we come back, I will finally wrap up with my guests.
We are one man short. Should we invite him?
Yeah.
It be old cargo.
Can I join you guys?
Yeah. Always drink fresh, natural eggs, mineral water.
You still got it.
Always keep hydrated naturally. That's my secret.
Manufactured with the primary aim of preserving nature's finest minerals necessary for a healthy mind and body. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
Thanks for staying, and I want to officially say thank you to Mr. Joe Jackson for joining us on Morning Update. Sir, we are grateful for your time.
It was a real pleasure.
Thank you, and I'm sure those who have called or sent us messages have been very pleased with the conversation. Mr. Thompson, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Short notice, you made it.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you.
And so that's where we end our conversation with our guests. They are taking leave of us, and this is how we bring the show to an end. But I'm sure you want to see Abna Sewa. When the guests leave, she will join us. And so listen to this spot of music.
Easy concepts. What can't you do? What won't you do? Nothing impossible. Nothing impossible. What can't you do? What won't you do? Nothing impossible with our God. You do not lie, you do not fail. What is hard for you to do? It doesn't exist. It's gonna never ever exist. You do not lie, you do not fail. What is hard for you to do? It doesn't exist. It's gonna never ever exist. According to your knowledge and your will for me, what you say you have done, I just need to align, no. Because you are not a man that changes your mind, oh. Those that know you will trust in you.
So this is Morning Update. And unfortunately, we have to take leave of you. And the music you were enjoying, I'm sure it will continue after Irabna and I have wrapped up the show. Irabna, I missed you briefly.
I missed you, but I was enjoying the conversation. Yes. I think they made really solid points. The one that interested me the most is the fact that people believe COVID is for rich people, which is something that I think we should delve into in one of our discussions.
I think this week we'll be touching on COVID every day as part of our contribution towards public education.
Exactly.
And so thank you so much. Keep watching TVXYZ. Keep following Wazor TV on Facebook and YouTube, because we'll bring you live proceedings of today's Supreme Court hearing. Dr. Michael Basa-White will take the witness box, and I promise you it will be hot.
Definitely, certainly, it will be hot in here. So please do not leave, even though the morning update is leaving you now, because there are lots of information or there are lots of exciting shows that are going to come your way. And as I said before, there can never be a successful morning update without X Natural Mineral Water. So we'd say thank you for supporting Morning Update. My name is Nana Abena Sewa, and I did this with
Eric. Goodbye.